Molinay. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Quite an honor to get to interview for such a prestigious position. I want to say thank you to those in the audience that I've met with this morning. Very pleasant experience in the meetings that I've had. This is a great place to work, and I understand that everybody I've met says that there's no problems here and just plenty of money to do anything you want to do. These department heads I've just met with are saying that the administrators have been very generous to them, and just a great place to work. But it is, again, an honor to be here. And agriculture is so important to the state of Arkansas. $9.5 billion of a $7 billion industry, 1 out of 6 jobs agriculture related. So this is it's big, and the University of Arkansas Experiment Station has served the industry well. You're known in your neighboring states by the agricultural research you do, and again, I commend you for that. We both have tasks today. You as an audience have a task of evaluating me as a candidate for this position, and I have a task of opening myself up to you so that you can do that, perform your task. I don't really like to talk about myself. I'd rather talk about ideas, things that you're doing, but I know some of that's important in order for you to evaluate me. So I'll try to limit comments about myself, but I do want to tell you a little bit about my background so that you'll know who I am. Most of the accomplishments that I've made in my career have been made with teams. I've tried to surround myself during my administrative career with the best people possible, allow them to excel, and that's been the secret to my success. I've worked with other people. Let me talk a little bit about my outline for the presentation. I want to talk about my background, qualifications for the position. I spend a lot of time on the vision for the future of the Arkansas Agricultural Experiment Station. We'll talk about issues facing all agricultural experiment stations, a little bit about my management style and priorities, and questions, give you an opportunity to give me foot and mouth disease. That was supposed to be funny. Okay, in my youth, I'm just going to spend a small amount of time on talking about my youth, but I do want to tell you that that's very important to me. This is where I developed my leadership skills. It's where I established my work ethic system. It's where I developed most of the priorities that I have in my life, and the entire belief system started as a young person. I was born and reared on a dairy farm in east central Mississippi. I was the 4th of 5 children, 3 older sisters and 1 younger brother. It was a great family atmosphere. We worked hard to keep the dairy going, but it was a happy childhood for me. 4-H and church activities was my life, and the 4-H activities were very influential in my career path. I participated in school athletics, but it wasn't quite as important as some of the other activities that I participated in. In college, I attended Mississippi State University right out of high school for pursuing an undergraduate degree in dairy science. I was very active in a lot of campus organizations and provided leadership to a lot of those organizations. I worked my way through college, had a lot of scholarships and part-time jobs, but when I finished college, I didn't have a debt. After undergraduate school, I joined the Air Force National Guard. That allowed me to fulfill my military obligation and still attend graduate school because I knew I wanted to go to grad school. After my training in National Guard, I started at the University of Tennessee pursuing a master's degree in animal nutrition. Then later, while working on an experiment station, I received my PhD in animal physiology at Mississippi State. My first professional job was at the West Tennessee Branch Experiment Station in Jackson, Tennessee. It was a position similar to a research associate. I was responsible for dairy and the swine testing station there. One of the things that I had to do was plan the first rotary parlor that was in the state of Tennessee, and really Tennessee is a lot like the other southeastern states, and not many dairies left, and certainly not a rotary parlor. Stayed there only a short time. I realized that I needed that PhD, so I had an opportunity to go to North Mississippi Branch Experiment Station and worked there as a research associate also. And I had an opportunity to go to pursue my PhD while working there full time. It was a dairy replacement center, and I just was responsible for the research that was being conducted there by other faculty. After a few years there, my brother had developed a muscle disease called ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and he was back on a dairy farm, the family dairy farm, and he called me for help. So I put my career on hold and went back to this dairy farm. I was just going to keep the farm. I purchased it from him, and I was going to keep the farm just long enough for so he could either get over the disease or pass away. And he passed away after about 2 years, but I did keep it a little bit longer. During that time, I was a part of a number of farm organizations. It did allow me to learn how producers think and what they think about agricultural research and extension programming. Then I left the farm and after selling the dairy herd, and went back to Mississippi State University in a joint research teaching, research extension appointment on the faculty of the Animal and Dairy Science Department. Most of the activities that I was responsible for was in extension, but I did have a research program in waste management and heat stress management. I also managed the DHI program while I was there. Only stayed in that position about 9 years before I moved into administration. My first administrative job was head of the North Mississippi Branch Experiment Station. It was located in Tupelo, or right outside Tupelo, Mississippi. And we had 4 experiment stations associated with this position. And there were about 10 research faculty, 50 support staff, and about a $5 million budget. So that was my first administrative job. Then I left that position to become Associate Director of the Mississippi Agricultural Experiment Station, position at which I now hold. Most of the time while I've been in that position, I was responsible for operations, facilities, personnel, and all the off-campus locations. I also had research support responsibilities for variety testing, foundation seed, farm operations, and some of the other units. As he mentioned a while ago, we had about 150 faculty and over 1,000 support staff and grad students. During this time, I've monitored the MAFIS expenditures. That's Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station. And 2 out of those 8 years, I was responsible for grants, contracts, and intellectual property. Also, during that time, I've served 2 interims. Interim head of Food Science, Nutrition, and Health Promotion. I was responsible for combining the 3 groups of food science, nutrition, and health promotion. And that was my first experience in the academic department. It was a comprehensive department. I went through the problems associated with assigning labs, offices, and new support to the faculty that was merging. But it was good experience for me to get that experience as an administrator of academic programs. I also was interim head of Life Science and Biotechnology Institute. This was a very productive institute, a lot of basic scientists associated with this institute. During that year that I was there were over 33 refereed journal articles and about $9 million in grants. That is not typical for the faculty at Mississippi State University, I will tell you that. That was a very impressive group. And all these interims, as I said, was during the time that I served as associate director. My wife is Faye, the former Faye Pilgrim. She's an elementary school teacher, does music teaching, public school music, has done some of that and taught a lot of piano over the years of our married life, helped put me through grad school with those skills. We have 3 grown children and 3 grandchildren, of which they're perfect grandchildren, I'll tell you that. I'll show you a picture later on of those 3 grandchildren I'm really proud of. Let me talk just a little bit about the qualifications for the position that I have. And of course, as you know, my strongest qualification is over 12 years, almost 13 years in experiment station administration. Head of an off-campus R&E center and head of academic department, and of course my experience as associate director of experiment station. The experiment station at Mississippi State ranged from 4th to 7th during the time that I have been associate director in ag research expenditures. That's throughout the nation. That was the ranking, and that's a National Science Foundation ranking. But I certainly can't take credit for that, all that accomplishment. That has to come from a lot of people, and I was just a part of it. Leadership, you know about my educational background. My leadership training and experience, besides the department heads and the other administrative responsibilities I've had, spent a lot of time working in committee work at the university and across campus. President of several farm organizations while I had the dairy. I'm still administrative advisor of about 5 multi-state programs in the United States. So that's enough to keep me busy. I've worked with a lot of farm organizations and legislators. We do it a little bit different there in Mississippi. The experiment station directors and associate directors do get involved with some of the lobbying efforts. So I have had experience doing some of that and worked with congressional staffers. We've hosted them a number of times, and it's quite frightening to see that we have 25-year-olds running this country. But if you look at the congressional staffers, that's about their average age. This is a qualification that I have not mastered, people communication skills, but I'm a student of it. And I've done a lot of reading on people skills, and I've tried to improve it over the years. But I can tell you, if you're going to be successful in an experiment station director, you're going to have some people and communication skills. And again, I've worked on it, and I certainly hadn't mastered it. And I have a passion for ag research. I told one of the groups this morning that I get excited when I see faculty successful in getting a big grant, faculty successful in getting published in one of the Tier 1 journals. I get excited when I see that the experiment station total scholarly activity has increased from year to year. And I think you as a university need to have an experiment station director that gets up every morning and thinks about how can I improve the Arkansas agricultural experiment station system. Whether it be me or one of the other candidates, you need somebody with that kind of passion. All right, I'm not talking about myself anymore, except my grandkids when they get to that point. Vision for the future of the Arkansas Agricultural Experiment Station. This is a quote that I like from Henry Ford, that coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, but working together is success. And you know, working together should be a core value of any experiment station system. And from what I've seen about Arkansas, it definitely is. I think the job of an experiment station director or any administrator is to create an environment for productivity. And this is a vision that I have. And let me say this before I get into that. There's something that should be, a vision should be established by a team effort shared by the faculty, support staff, and administration. And I think it's good to even have client input. But this is an environment that I like to work in. I think it's good for productivity, and I think this is a good environment for the Arkansas Agricultural Experiment Station. We value each other, and there's worth to everyone. I like to spend a lot of time with the janitors. You can get a lot of information about how people feel And to me, they're just as important as your most tenured professor. And I think there's worth to every person that's part of the experiment station system. Everyone is given respect and dignity. And to me, that's just a mindset. That's a given that we do that. But it is something we have to work on. Faculty and staff are well paid. I think you've done better than most of the universities in the Southeast. But it's something that we have to think about. How are we going to come up with enough funds to pay our faculty well? If we want to keep them, we're going to have to do that. There's value for ideas and abilities. You know, the best research I know about comes about as a result of a creative idea. And if that creative idea is not respected and given value, that faculty member is not going to pursue that idea. So we have to find a way to recognize those people that come up with those ideas. So there's value to it. There's pride in our work. I like to organize tours, especially for the consumer groups. And I like to pick faculty that have a lot of pride in what they're doing. You can bring those faculty in and have a lot of pride. They're going to sell their idea to those consumer groups, and they're going to be successful. You're going to see them with a high level of scholarly activity, and they're going to be successful in what they do. Quality work is acknowledged. A lot of times we just assume everybody's going to do quality work, and we assume that we don't have to acknowledge them for it, but we should. Performance is measured, recognized, and rewarded, and not just at a performance evaluation time. Goals are set, and the unit's goals are shared. And administrators cannot set these goals and not share it or involve department heads and faculty in setting these goals. Discoveries are made in labs, fields, nurseries, and then transferred through journals, other publications, conferences, and intellectual property. Research results are used by companies and other clients for improvement in quality of life in this state, region, and nation. Diversity is promoted, and there's a plan to enhance it. There's strength in diversity, but we have to work on it. It don't just happen without an effort there. And sorry about that misspelling up there. Just now noticed it. Always happens. Scientists work together and accomplish things together. Collaboration is rewarded. Partnerships are strong. You know, we have to, with our shrinking budgets, we have to work on partnerships with outside agencies, some of the USDA agencies, consumer groups, producer groups. We have to form partnerships in order to be successful. The farm bureaus, the cattlemen's of the world, they can be very helpful in getting funding. Scientists are given support for grant writing and submission. We're expecting more extramural funding in our experiment station systems, but we have to provide some assistance to the faculty in order for them to be successful. New scientists receive adequate startup funds. When a new scientist comes in, I tell them that I want them to get tenure. In order for them to get tenure, they're going to have some good startup funds. New scientists are mentored in a formal and informal program. I like for scientists to be assigned to a tenured faculty member, but they also is merit in having a formal program that all the younger scientists can get involved in. Information about how they get tenure, information about regulatory compliance, and other issues that all faculty face. I like for this to be an environment where leaders communicate expectations of faculty and support staff. If a support staff knows what you expect out of them, or faculty, they come a lot nearer performing. Leaders communicate reasons for decision, and they're known to be fair. Technology is modern and resources are used effectively. This is an area that's really difficult to stay cutting edge because the technology changes so often. But we have to do our best to provide that to our faculty and support staff in order for them to have maximum efficiency. A place where family is important. And to me, that's a huge one. We need to have feelings for each other. We need to know the problems that we have in our family life. It should be a family atmosphere in the environment that we work in. a place where people laugh often and enjoy life. And I think you're a lot more productive when you can do that and not be so structured that you can't talk and laugh. I've kind of put together a vision here from just what I think, and of course, again, this has to be developed here with the support of faculty and department heads and staff, to be one of the preeminent land grant programs in the nation dedicated to providing research that enhances the quality of life, increasing agricultural productivity and income, promoting the economic well-being of families, and conserving the natural resources of Arkansas. I don't know whether that has all the verbiage that's needed for a vision, but it has some of it. Research vision, adequate funding. We cannot, in our experiment station systems, we cannot be successful without adequate funding. And we're in an environment of shrinking budgets for any governmental entity. But we do have an option in the experiment station system to increase some of these budgets that we have, the funds available for research. And this is one, extramural funding. We need to create an environment so that faculty can be successful in going after extramural grants. We need to train the faculty as much as possible by the use of workshops or whatever, so that they will be qualified and have the knowledge to go after them. State appropriations, this is something we need to work on year-round. The state legislators do not care about agriculture like they cared about it 20 years ago. And we have many legislators that don't have ag backgrounds anymore, so we have to communicate that to our legislators, that we are very efficient, we leverage their money, and it's the best buy for that they appropriate of anything, of any of the dollars they appropriate. Federal appropriations, we see those shrinking. Had a discussion this morning about earmarks. I come from a university that was #1 in the nation in earmarks, so you know how we're going to be hurting. One of our senators, Senator Cochran, I read in an article last week that he's going to start funneling more money through federal agencies. But we have to work on that. We have to have this relationship with these federal agencies like ARS, APHIS, and some of the others, so that we can develop projects through them and can create that environment. And I'm sure Senator Pryor and Bozeman would love to do that also for the state of Arkansas. Private grants and contracts, and we already have a lot of, you already have a lot of faculty that are successful in these private grants and contracts. I did hear about a bill that's recently introduced by Senator Stabenow from Michigan that amends the tax code to create charitable organizations for ag research similar to the medical profession. So I'm hoping this will channel a lot of more giving to ag research, and maybe it will. And of course, sales. And we have a lot of our support staff that get mixed up thinking sales ought to be #1 rather than research. However, you can still utilize the sales to enhance your budget. I think there needs to be an organized effort for scientists to meet the program managers in D.C. If you can have that relationship as a scientist with the program managers, the probability of funding really goes up. And that could be done with a one trip to D.C. or 2 trips to D.C. a year, carrying some of the faculty. MS and PhD assistantship should be supported. We in the experiment station do that a lot through our grants and contracts, but PhD assistantships really add, MS and PhD assistantships really add credibility to an experiment station system. Scholarly activities should be promoted and documented. And this is just a given to me. We need to promote that just as much as possible. Should be an organized program for assistant scientists in grant writing and submission. I've already mentioned that. But we should not be a hindrance to the submission process as administrators. Talk a little bit about service vision. We have a lot of disagreement on our campus about how much service that we should be involved in as research faculty. But this is one that I think it wouldn't be a much argument about. Serving leadership positions in professional organizations. That adds credibility to the university. It adds credibility to the scientist. Serve on department and university committees. And again, we have to have faculty support staff to make these committees' mission successful. Listen and respond in a timely manner to stakeholders. A lot of times research faculty think that's the job of extension faculty. But we get so much funding from the state and so much funding from these stakeholders that we have to listen to them. And the truth is that many of these stakeholders don't know whether you work for extension and whether you work for the experiment station. Service to Arkansas has to be a priority because, again, that's where most of your base funding comes from. Should have a great working relationship with the Extension Service. And I understand that a lot of your faculty have joint appointments with part extension, part research. But you need to maintain that good working relationship. And then last of all, you should recognize and reward service just like any other scholarly activity. Partnership vision should be great communication across colleges and divisions. I know Dr. Vermer's talked about how he works with engineering a lot, and that should be the norm. When there's projects that cross divisions, cross colleges, we should take advantage of those opportunities. Great relationship between on and off campus faculty and staff. I think you have that, but that's something that we need to have. Endowments. You never have enough endowed chairs. And there's always opportunities out there to seek more of this endowment funds, and it adds credibility to the experiment station. Organize or enhance relationship with advisory boards. We need to listen to our clients. I know Extension does a better job than we do in our experiment station system in getting producer input, but we need to get that also for research. Great relationships with public agencies and private companies. A lot of these private companies, even though they do research themselves, they know that the peer review publications that we come out are a lot more credible than the research that they do. The unbiased research is still done on the university level. We'll talk just a little bit about the issues facing agricultural experiment stations, and I've already alluded to some of those. A lot of discussion. We had an experiment station meeting last week, and a lot of discussion on competitive versus non-competitive. 5-8 years ago, I really thought it was going to go completely competitive, and we would lose our capacity funds like Hatch, Max Stennis, and all. But I think there's a better chance of maintaining those funds, but it's a problem. It would be a problem at our experiment station. I'm sure it would be a problem here if we lost those capacity funds. I think there's a general misunderstanding of formula funds or capacity funds among legislators and some of our clientele. But there'd be no way for us to have stability, and no way that we could address new initiatives without some of those capacity funds, or at least it would be a lot more difficult. It's also a problem with combining the NEFA priorities with the needs of the state. And some of the NEFA priorities I think we need to be involved in. And I know you are, but when you talk about global food security and hunger and climate change, and some of those areas, we do get involved in a lot of our experiment stations in childhood obesity and sustainable energy. But some of these other priorities, it's difficult to fit within the mission of the experiment station. Image of ag, forestry, and food programs. We're losing a positive image out there among the general population. People think that all they got to do is go to the grocery store and have an adequate and safe food supply. And it's not that easy. And a cheap food policy is what we have in this country. And I'm for it, I really am. But ag research is necessary to maintain that policy. urbanization and population shift, we have fewer people that understand agriculture, fewer people that are advocates, and we have fewer people involved in agriculture, period, which means that we have less voice, and that's partly because of this urbanization and population shift. And number 5, industry even don't see the need or the benefits of ag research. That's something we just got to work on. I was asked one time this morning about my management style, and of the 2 major management styles, permissive and autocratic, I probably fall a little bit closer to permissive. I like to have input from as many people as I can. I like for considerable autonomy to exist in departments, and I like for the subordinates to take part in the decision-making process. However, there's some decisions that you can't wait for participation, and that's where I would fall more closely to the autocratic management style. But the situations really dictate the style, whether I use telling, delegating, participating, or selling, but the situation delegates that. Principles of management, honesty, integrity, already talked about. That's very important to me. And I really believe that that's important for your trust in any administrator. Build group cohesiveness and pride. And if you can have a group working together, you're always more effective in whether it's a research project or extension program or whatever. Share openly and willingly. I have an open door policy. I give cell phone out at will because I want to communicate with the faculty support staff. Coach to improve performance. People need to be told if their performance is not where it should be. They need to be told and coached to improve it. Show confidence in people. I think that's really important for maximum productivity. Hold subordinates accountable, but listen to them. And that's sometimes difficult when you have an underperforming faculty, department head, or whatever, support staff. But they still have good ideas, and there sometimes can be reason for that lack of performance. Be decisive. My dad always said a wrong decision is better than no decision at all. And really that's true. You can react to a good decision, you can react to a bad decision, but you can't react to a no decision. And sometimes you just have to be decisive and make that decision and move on. Award excellence. I think that there's no way we can have too many awards for our faculty. But when the faculty, support staff know that we recognize excellence, I think it improves their performance. Follow the chain of command. I don't believe in jumping the chain of command going up or jumping the chain of command going down. I guess that's the military that's trained that in me. I have a lot of faculty that call me, and what they're really trying to do is jump ahead of the department head because they don't agree with what the department head has done. And I always tell them, now, before you proceed with this conversation, we're going to involve your department head before this is over. And usually they understand that. Now, if it involves a problem with the department head, I will listen and maybe not communicate. If they ask me to be confidential, I'll do that. But I don't like to jump the chain of command. Plan ahead and be organized. I do a lot better, whether it's a presentation or a committee meeting, if I can plan ahead and have an agenda for all the committee meetings. Follow that agenda and get out. And I hate to have faculty and support staff sitting in a meeting waiting for me because their time is important. I like to be there when the committee, time for the committee meeting. This is just a little bit more about me. I like to use lists. My wife, it drives her crazy that I have to write down everything. My memory is not very long, so I write it down. As I told you, I like to be on time. I like a relaxed environment. in the workplace. And I think I've mentioned this before too. I like to surround myself with the best employees available. Faith, family, and friends. Very important to me. And this is a picture of the best grandkids in the world. They're in front of my fair cabin at the Neshoba County Fair. And probably none of you have heard, well, there's a couple here that know about Neshoba County Fair, but it's a great place to visit. Okay, questions? Ready. Do I need to repeat the questions, or how do I see myself facilitating success in the NEFA arena? Is that similar? And how I could organize for success in that arena? I think the experiment station director needs to get some department heads involved and also faculty. And you have to be selective there. Find the best expertise possible in that arena, and then develop a task force and say, look, this is an opportunity for every one of you to be successful. The problem is that sometimes you don't have that expertise. Climate change is one. So you have to cross the college line sometimes. You may have to get somebody out of meteorology, for instance. But I see the administrator of the experiment station system, a person that is involved in trying to form these task forces or these teams. Now, what happens at our university is that every day I get bombarded with grant opportunities almost. And sometimes I just send them out to the faculty and with no personal note at all. I like to bookmark or call on the particular faculty that I know have expertise in those areas and say, look, this is an opportunity for you. Or mention to the department head, look, I think Dr. So-and-so would be a good one to apply for this grant. But when there's an opportunity like the NEFA and AFRI grants that are out there, you're going to have a team to go after those. Specialty Crops Initiative is one we got involved in, and we got involved with LSU. And they were successful. And sometimes I've been in a couple of those meetings where tempers flared a little bit because they said, you're allocating this much money for postdoc here, and I need this much money. So sometimes it's difficult, but at the same time, if you can work together, you can be successful. But I think it needs to be encouraged. Yes, sir. Oh, I don't have an answer, but I think public relations is good. Your relationship with Farm Bureau, relationship with the cattlemen in Mississippi, and I want you to understand that we don't do everything right in Mississippi, okay? Farm Bureau has started a new initiative where they're buying TV ads to do just that, to improve the image of farming community. I would submit that we need to improve the image of ag research. And part of that is developing more impact statements that we can use in publicity. Show them, there's been a lot of ag econ studies about show them what a good investment the dollar is, the dollar investment in ag research is. We need to get that message out. and some of our communications people. I don't think George is in here, but that they can help us. But it has to be an effort to do that. This is one of the things that we do. Also, we invite the ag committees of both houses in the state legislature come to campus, and we talk about ag research to those committees, and try to sell our ideas and tell them the yield that their dollar returns that they invest in ag research. It's a constant battle, though, and I'm not sure it's going to get any better with this urbanization that we've faced all over the United States, really, not just in the South. Yes, sir. Well, 2 years, the way we divided up the responsibility in associate director, I did the facilities, operations, personnel, and the other associate director did grants, contracts, and intellectual property. For 2 years, I had the grants, contracts, and intellectual property. So we do have an intellectual property officer that serves just the experiment station. I say just, he has some other responsibilities across campus, but primarily the experiment station. The problem we've had is things like seeded versus non-seeded varieties, how we collect that intellectual property, how we monitor that. We've been successful in some areas and not very successful in others. We've made investments in intellectual property that have never yielded a dollar royalty. I'm sure that's happened here too, but it's kind of a moving target, but we at Mississippi State have not invested enough in that arena until recently. We just hired or bought out a portion of one person's salary, a large portion. But I think there are more opportunities in an experiment station for intellectual property than we take advantage of. And we have to foster our faculty. We have to train them that with the mentality that your idea could be something that we could patent. And they don't really worry about that when they have an idea. Now, when they realize this can be something that brings money into their pocket, usually that motivates them a little bit. And we have a pretty generous policy as far as the inventor. They get a pretty generous portion. University gets the biggest portion. I was telling another group earlier, there's a rice grower in the Delta of Mississippi called me, and she had read on the internet about me applying for this job, and she said, "Oh, you're going from a dog to a hog." I said, "No, not yet." Only if I'm successful. Yes, sir. Well, I've been an associate director for almost 8 years. And I've wanted to be director for almost that long. But it didn't happen at Mississippi State. It won't happen at Mississippi State. And so I'm interested in going elsewhere. Now, I've been very happy in my positions. I can say that most every day I look forward to going to work. And I'll be happy there. But I think it's more of a mindset than anything else. But I'm at the position in my career that it's easier for me to move. I don't have the family attachments. My kids are scattered. Got one in Pennsylvania, one in Louisiana, one in Mississippi, but they're not that close, so it's not such an environment that I have to stay with. But I'll be happy at either place, but I'd like to come to Arkansas. We did get together at right across the river in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Rick, I don't think you attended, but Dr. McKinney and Nathan and myself, and I think you had your extension director was not there. Tony was not there, but you had Rick Carlisle, and we had representatives from Louisiana and Mississippi, and we talked about ways that we could work together, not just in research, but also extension. A lot of good ideas, and ARC-LMIS is the name of the group, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And we're already doing a lot together. There's memorandums of understanding between the states. There's strengths in Arkansas that we don't have in Mississippi. There's a few strengths in Mississippi you don't have in Arkansas or Louisiana. And Louisiana has some strengths. But there's opportunities for collaborations, and I think we need to take advantage of it. You know, why reinvent the wheel? Some research is site-specific. Some extension programming is site-specific. But it's probably more on the other side than it is the site-specific side. So we threw out a lot of good ideas, and there were some groups assigned to do some things. I was on the committee to work on MOUs. There's a big area, and I don't think I've mentioned it in my presentation, there's a big area of research that's going to be necessary for all our states, and that's water. And so we're going to have to do some more research in water, and we can do that together. A lot of us don't have that capability right now, but some states have more capability than others. Arkansas has more capability in that area than we do. So that's the two areas that I know that we're going to start to work on. Thank you. You've been a great audience, and I appreciate your attending this seminar. I've attended a lot of these, and they're usually a boring presentation that you do it because out of obligation. But you've been a much better audience than that. Thank you.